to now introduce Jonathan's nephew, Frid.
Thanks, Mark. That's a tough act to follow. I'll do my best, but I don't have the same finesse of storytelling as my uncle does, so bear with me. I would like to thank everybody for attending this event in the honor of my uncle, Jonathan Frid. I feel privileged to be asked to honor him in the company of so many of his fans. Out of respect to Jonathan, I will address him as my Uncle John throughout my speech. Uncle John was more than just an actor to his family. He was a fun-loving, easygoing man who enjoyed spending time with his family. When he lived in New York City, he would frequently invite family members to visit him before, during, and after his dark shadow days. And of course, Uncle John would make regular trips back to his home in Hamilton, Ontario. I recall meeting him at the local train station on several occasions. During one particular visit in the early 80s would be when a special uncle and nephew bond between the two of us started to develop. Uncle John was spending the summer at his mother's cottage, and he was piecing together those big, famous black binders everybody knows about, that he had presented at many festivals in the 80s and 90s. He had accumulated so much material developing these binders that he could not possibly transport them on the train. So he asked me if I would chauffeur him back to New York City. Since this would be my first trip to the Big Apple, I accepted without hesitation. I will spare you the details of the trip, other than to say it was an eye-opening experience and a great opportunity to get to know Uncle John better. He was a great host. This special bond would continue when he was on tour with Arsenic and Old Lace. I visited him twice during the run, once in San Francisco and the other time in Baltimore. In San Francisco, we took in some local sites that he normally would not have done on his own. Unfortunately, during the tour, both his mother and brother, my father, passed away. So after a while, he felt it was time to move back to Hamilton to be closer to his loved ones. He was returning more frequently, looking for the right place to live, and he would always make a point to pay a visit to my home. As I mentioned in the beginning, John was a family man to us, and we rarely saw the popularity that accompanied him during his years on Dark Shadows. But one particular visit helped us to get a better sense of his fame. My wife and I were entertaining a friend from the New York City area one weekend. Uncle John called to say he was in town and he was coming up to our house for lunch. He didn't ask to come, he just said, "I'm coming up for lunch." Our friend was very eager to meet Barnabas Collins. Before I get to the popularity portion of the story, I want to tell you about the fun-loving side of his personality. We had just installed a pool in our yard, complete with a diving board and water slide. Uncle John, who was in his mid-60s at the time, had to try out the water slide. He thought it was a hoot, but he felt it was too much exercise climbing the ladder. So he decided to relax in the floating lounge chair in the pool with the vodka on the rocks perched in the cup holder. Typical Uncle John. Our friend was thrilled to meet him, and seeing Uncle John's lighter side was an added bonus. Our friend had to call his sister at work the next day to tell her that he had lunch with Barnabas Collins, and she yelled to her co-workers, "My brother had lunch with Barnabas Collins," and everybody was very impressed by that. Obviously, it was a big deal to both of them. With their reaction to this event, it gave me a better understanding of Uncle John's popularity. It's not like they had never met a famous actor before. You see, their other sister was working for Richard Dreyfuss at the time. Our friend felt it was more rewarding to meet Uncle John. When he finally moved back to the Hamilton area, he was able to watch my daughter, Brianne, and our son Connor, who unfortunately is in a football tournament this weekend and couldn't make it down. Got to watch them grow up. I put it this way because Brianne was born 2 weeks after Uncle John moved into his new home. And when Connor was born, Uncle John was the first visitor to the hospital. He was quite proud of himself for that feat and made mention about it quite often. My children really adored him. For a school project, Brianne had to write an essay on the person you admire most. It wasn't her father she admired most, nor her mother. It was her Uncle John. Of course, he was very honored and flattered to be selected. In the last few years, all the Frids would gather at Uncle John's home and let him play host for holiday dinners. He enjoyed having company, plus he didn't have to cook the meals or clean afterwards. And a few weeks afterwards, the party would be his topic of conversation. According to him, the last get-together was better than the previous one. Mark would hear about it for days. Isn't that true? Moving on, I would like to thank Jim Pearson for continuing these Dark Shadows festivals over the years. When Uncle John attended his 40th anniversary festival in 2007, I said it would be the only one he would do unless Jim held them in Toronto. Boy, was I wrong. He looked forward to returning each year, including this year. The preparation at times was exhausting for him, but he always wanted to entertain the fans during his performances. The preparation and his website kept him active through the years. I would also like to thank all the fans who have kept Dark Shadows alive for so many years. It was because of you keeping the memories of the show alive that brought Uncle John back into the fold. He enjoyed working on his website and posting new daily diaries, infrequently sometimes, or readings to keep you entertained. Some people have said they wish Uncle John would have embraced his role as Barnabas Collins more than he appeared to do. Even though in the past he had made comments to that effect, I believe deep down he felt proud of his role. Having gone through much of his personal treasures over the last 5 years, I have come across many items that would reevaluate this feeling. There are many pictures of him here at Lyndhurst with fans, plus the fan art that we brought down here this weekend, and fan letters he kept for so many years. He may have moved on after a while by performing his one-man shows around the U.S. and Ontario, but in the end, he still came back to play the part of Barnabas Collins. And of course, we cannot forget his final role in the movie Dark Shadows. It may have been a very short appearance, but he was happy just to be asked to do the cameo. It was something that he made mention of quite frequently from the first time the idea was presented to him. It was a fitting way to pay a final tribute to an actor who was admired by his fans, including Johnny Depp. I know that my family and I will treasure that memory for many years to come. In closing, I would like to say it has been a pleasure meeting many of Uncle John's fans during the past festivals. Again, I feel honored to have an uncle who touched so many lives, both as Barnabas Collins and Jonathan Frid. He will always be in our hearts and thoughts. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Bob.